All right, you're good to go.
Good evening, everybody. We're going to call this meeting of the Health and Human Services Committee to order, and I'll begin by reading the notice. Board of Alders, New Haven notice. The Health and Human Services Committee will meet in person on Thursday, July 24th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in the Board of Alders chamber, 165 Church Street, 2nd floor, New Haven, Connecticut, to act on the following item. LM-2025-0299. Order of the New Haven Board of Alders authorizing the City of New Haven, Mayor, Controller, or Budget Director to enter an agreement with Continuum of Care, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $1,128,416.12 from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 to operate this Elm City Compass Crisis Response Team. This item is on file and available for public inspection in the Office of Legislative Services, 165 Church Street, New Haven. Per order, Honorable Eli Saban, Chair. Attest, Honorable Michael Smart, City Clerk. If you need an accessibility-related accommodation, please contact 203-946-7651 or 203-946-8582. In accordance with the City of New Haven COVID-19 policies, masks are now optional. Public may send comments to public testimony at newhavenct.gov. My name is Eli Saban. I represent Ward 7 on the board, and I have the privilege of chairing this committee, and I'll invite my colleagues to introduce themselves as well, starting with my vice chair.
Sarah Miller, Ward 14.
Caroline W. Smith, Ward 9.
Kiana Flores, Ward 1.
Thank you all for being here. And with that, we will invite our presenters to come forward and share more about this agreement.
Looks like you all have some material.
We'll always take more paper. We have a PowerPoint up here. And we also say thank you for your flexibility with this month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lorena Mitchell. I'm coordinator for Community Mental Health Initiatives, 107 Foster Street.
My name is Tirza Keck, Director for the Department of Community Resilience, 747 Mixed Avenue.
So we are here tonight to present a proposal to enter into a contract with Continuum of Care to continue the Elm City Compass team operations. I just want to recognize in the audience Dr. Jack Teebs, Director of Compass, is here, and John Leviniak, Vice President for Acute and Forensic Services with Continuum of Care. I also want to note we have been requested and we would like to do a full workshop on Elm City Compass in the fall, but the scope of this presentation is just on the contract.
Understood.
Thank
we
you.
Can accommodate that.
Yes. So, we've been before this committee before, so you all are familiar with Elm City Compass. There are 4 main components of the program: the crisis response team, the service system coordination work, the community advisory board, and then 4th, the evaluation. As you can see, the contract really deals only with component number 1, running and operating the crisis response team. All of the other components are covered by a no-cost extension with Yale University that was previously reviewed and passed by this committee. As some additional background, from the launch of the program through fiscal year 25, Elm City Compass has been funded by a contract with Yale University, with general funds and a federal grant from the BJA. And then Yale has subcontracted with Continuum of Care. Continuum of Care has provided, has hired and supervised and operated the team. This fiscal year is an opportunity to enter into an agreement directly with Continuum of Care, as the Yale University contract is now set to expire And we're moving really beyond the pilot phase and into sustainability. Some recent data. As of the end of June 2025, there's been over 2,700 crisis responses in New Haven responding to mental health challenges, substance use challenges, and housing needs across our city. The average time to respond is 14 minutes, and the team is spending about 40 minutes on the scene. As you can see, more than half, a little more than half of all responses are through PSAP at the request of our police or fire departments. Compass is conducting targeted outreach as well. That's about 43%. That is Compass responding to community partners, community sites, and traveling throughout New Haven to respond to mental health and substance use crises. And we are moving towards more calls of direct dispatch through PSAP, where the team goes out without police and without fire in cases where there's no public safety risk and no medical emergencies. Also, our evaluation team has run some numbers recently, and we estimate that in the first 2.5 years of the team operations, Compass has saved a little over 25 weeks of police time and a little over 4 weeks of fire time, obviously freeing up these resources for other high priority public safety matters. To briefly provide some overview of the contract will cover continued team operations in fiscal year 26. We are not expanding operations. It will be a continuation of current service. That is from 8 a.m. to 3 a.m., 7 days a week, with 3 different shifts of staff. Each team is a social worker, or I should say each team is a clinician and a peer. And the team, as I mentioned, is responding through our 911 PSAP system. They've also developed a wide range of community partnerships with places like our public libraries, our warming shelters, Young New Haven Hospital, where those community partner sites can now contact Compass directly. We really see this as a way of preventing 911 calls and preventing escalation. Continuum of Care has been designated sole source vendor for this contract. And as I've mentioned, this is a really critical year. We're transitioning from Yale's amazing leadership of Elm City Compass into the next phase of this program. And we want to take this year to really be thoughtful, step back, evaluate, understand where we've been and how we can move forward. So this transitional year is an opportunity to contract directly with Continuum, where we'll have more ability and oversight over that contract. I'm happy to answer any questions, and then list some key contacts for the contract as well.
Thank you.
Did you want to add anything to
No, you did a great job.
We agree. Questions from colleagues? Alternate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you both for your presentation and all the work that you do for the city. I think the main question that comes to mind just to start is just how you would describe the either positive or sort of challenging implications of a shift. I mean, it sounds like it's generally quite positive. It sounds like programmatically it stays the same, and then it sounds like there's just a bit more oversight as a result of just a direct contract with Continuum, but would be just curious for you all to reflect on what the implications of the shift are.
Number one, we wouldn't have Jack.
I know.
I mean, Jack has been incredibly instrumental from day one, lending his mind and really designing what this should look like and keep it going. And so making sure that we're having the background conversations around sustainability, What else? I think that would be.
Yeah, I paused. I had the same initial reaction. Like the biggest transition is really transitioning out of Jack's leadership. And he's been so instrumental to this program. And I think that's why we're really seeing this. We want to give ourselves as long of an off ramp as possible and make sure that we are taking all the time we need to plan and to download the expertise that he has to the city side and how we carry this program forward. I think the city is already working very closely with Continuum of Care on Elm City Compass and many other shared community projects. So I feel very confident in our relationship with Continuum of Care. And I think we have, Yale's continued leadership this year to sort of, we have a nice trifecta of partners at the table to do some really serious thoughtful planning. Yeah.
Which is critical to the sustainability and the role they've played in the conception of Compass and their role moving forward.
Thank you, Bo. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Can you talk a little bit about the money, why the transition to Continuum? What does that mean? We have money more money going around the program? Was there a grant with the Yale contract, or what? What does the budget look like? I know you're having products, so maybe we just describe it in general terms.
I would be happy to provide information, more details about the budget. I think because in the previous setup, Yale was subcontracting with Continuum, the city just had to go through an extra administrative barrier to understand the financials. And in this way, the city, we clearly have a budget, we're going to be invoiced directly. There won't be any lag in understanding what we're paying for. Because the invoices will be coming directly to us instead of through a subcontract. And I think the original, maybe one other, the original contract with Yale was ever going to be years. And because they were wonderful fiscal stewards of that money, there was some that rolled over, and that's why we did that extension. But really, this was kind of the timeline of making decisions about how this program forward.
If it's through, perhaps we could just get a copy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the vast majority of the budget of the 1.2, almost $800,000 is directly toward.
So to see what like more. And just the related question was, when we were contracting with Yale, sometimes there would be a large administrative percentage that's just Yale policy. Was that happening before, to your knowledge? I mean, sometimes up to 70% of it.
Or wasn't that?
Yeah, I wasn't here when it went through, so.
And if you want, we could bring Jack up to maybe be able to answer that.
If you know, or you could just provide it.
Yeah.
Oh, I have one other unrelated question, which is more problematic. Can you talk about the connection between conflict and faces to using and how that has?
And so the connection is that we want to be able to create areas and an avenue for these individuals who we identify to be able to get the resources and services. And so for lawyers and handling, being a little bit of a public space, we would prefer to Compass to come in and really kind of redirect this using more supportive services like mental health treatment, substance use treatment, and divert them from jail, arrest, so on and so forth. And so Compass has been instrumental as a partner being with us, with the police, also sharing those names. So who are these individuals? We're all familiar with them, but how do we make sure that we're not duplicating services versus working together to streamline the service to get the individual? And so it's familiar faces is a small piece of the bigger picture and getting these individuals. And that's the role of.
And the only thing I would add is that Familiar Faces leadership is meeting their Compass team. There's a lot of overlap in meetings that members are. And so there's very regular communication between the program, between Compass and
Yeah, and I would add this layer of done. And so in some ways, time ago, we were working very practice in our departments, with really thinking about all of our work overlap. And so this was a collaboratory. So making sure that everything is on board, and then making sure we've got Compass, making sure that we've got the department, all of our outreach providers. And so really thinking about our work more holistically. And that's kind of the overlap.
Just real quick, is there any on outcomes related to?
It just started it. So the data is starting to come in. We're sharing data. We have 3 meetings a week. And so I think over time we'll be able to get more data. We literally just started. We hired, Jair, so to see the data piece of Familiar Faces.
I mean, I think that's great. I think conceptually it's great. I saw that today, and I thought, there's this group of like, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's something. I mean, it's a number because you can count.
From pilot to like then thinking about, okay, where are the gaps and what role do the courts play, right? And so we were just having a conversation as we were coming in about how do we get more diversion, court diversion involved in the work that we're doing. So over time, I just have to all of these.
I think the workshop would be great to bring.
Definitely.
I know this is our main together and forward and elevate and make it even better.
On the follow-up on Miller's question of budget, I was wondering if you could remind, I don't remember what the amount of
Yeah.
this contact information.
we would appreciate that. I guess sort of what I'm wondering, similar to what Aldo was asking about, is if we are saying some oversight, management support that financially speaking, is that going to replace that, or are those management responsibilities sort of being absorbed by you, by other folks in the department? How is that all?
Well, we have Jeff for another year, and he is going to be part of the conversations to sort of strategize where that leadership falls. I mean, obviously the program required a lot more intensive management during the pilot phase, and so I think the question is where will that leadership ultimately fall? I mean, we are paying for a portion of sort of clinical directorship and program directorship at Continuum. But really, the majority of this contract budget is staffing not 24 hours, but almost 24 hours.
And so from on the back end, yes, it's really Lorena. I won't even take as much credit as Lorena really having meetings with Jack and John and beginning to talk about all this stuff, the transition and what makes sense and data and how we still continue data. The other piece is that finally, I'm making an offer for the GIS. And so I'm really excited about that. And my goal is that I will be connecting this individual to the data piece of what we're doing with familiar faces, Compass, and everything else.
Helpful. And then one other question. You mentioned that we're transitioning, maybe doing more direct contact Compass to dispatching Compass without having PD or FD involvement. Could you explain a little bit more about now what we're expecting that to look like, how those calls maybe have gone so far?
Yeah, I think it was always part of to do that, and it's taken. I think we were moving very gingerly and conservatively because we wanted to make sure that everything was working before sending the team out, and making sure that call system, police, the team, all of these people were on board and like understood each other's roles in the field. We're definitely at that point now, and so as I mentioned, there are some calls, calls that fall into sort of this general category of loitering that Compass can respond to, and really well. Police are on board, staff is on board, the team is on board. I think we've gotten really positive feedback about it, and everyone agrees we're moving in the right direction. We're very excited that redeveloping their CAD system, they're actually in the new CAD system. It's probably been like days that they've been planning this project. So that has been also part of the timeline, impacted our timeline. But the CAD system will actually be, Compass will be a unit in that CAD system. So you can assign PD, assign Compass, like that will just help take this part of it.
And we had to go through the call tree, right? And so when someone calls, it's like identifying, okay, depending on the language, then who do we dispatch? So if it gets cleared and we know it's a Compass call, then we would dispatch that to the Compass. But there is a protocol that all the staff have to follow, constant trainings with the staff team to make sure that we're following that protocol. And then the training for the community to know when they need to call PD for Compass support when they don't want police and they know it's a Compass call. And so it was kind of dual trainings. It was a rollout. That was right in the middle of the time that I came in.
For those loitering calls, have a lot of those businesses that are calling or residents?
I would want to follow up with more precise data. I don't have that on hand.
I know that I've met with the local businesses, the merchants, downtown merchants, to be able to talk about and connected them with Jack if they wanted additional training to call, when to call.
I know that there's really businesses, actually at the very beginning, was often like a place where Compass would be dispatched without police. Technically, police were there, but it's like, it's not a police call, it's just someone at the police department clearly in need of mental health support. So I think the direct dispatch, the situations in which it's happening are actually probably more varied than you might even think.
Sure, that's true. Thank you. And I guess I have one logistical question, which is that what we got here, the contract began on July 1st, which was a few weeks ago.
Yes, it didn't.
It did not.
No, so we actually entered into a bridge contract for services from July 1st through August 15th. So we have a small bridge contract just to make sure that services could continue. And of course, respectfully, if there's any way that we can do this as quickly as possible, we would really appreciate that.
Of course. Good to know. Do we need to discharge it?
Vote it out tonight.
Okay,
We'll get it.
sounds good. We will do that. I think that's all my questions. Are there so,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one last question, which is about Yale's continued involvement. So, we transition here, just have there been any conversations around how Yale wants to continue to be engaged in the program outside of Jack's involvement over the next year?
We are open to that conversation. We meet bi-weekly with the whole team, including my supervisor, and so we just broached how do we, there are already been calls, right? And so how do we make this where Yale actually, excuse my language, put some skin in the game, right? Because this obviously is a benefit to the entire. And so we just talked about that last week. So we are definitely going to strategize, figure out what to talk to. And so having a conversation this Monday.
Um, the ED, yes, from Yale Hospital and Psych Services.
So we're starting, we're having that conversation Monday, but it's definitely an exploratory conversation that we've been having, strategize to how do we think about the benefits of Compass and getting some of our larger institutions to buy in to that and support it financially. That's the goal. My goal is to support it. I don't want this to be a pilot. We need it. We need it in the community, especially with the way of the world. And so the goal is to be able to approach and see how we can get other institutions to support this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
actually, I have one more question. Could you talk a little bit more about the grant from the National Institute of Justice? Is that covering all program?
No,
Evaluation, right?
so that is a grant that Jack's team applied to and received. That's covering the other components of Elm City Compass, not the team response, but more of the evaluation and the CAP piece.
Definitely.
It was,
It's the federal grant.
and they received the grant, or we're
Probably tomorrow.
tomorrow?
And since January, we've been negotiating details with them, the federal relief. But again,
I hope so. Okay, thank you for that information. Any other questions? I think we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Following the presentation, we did call testimony. Do we have any members of the public wishing to testify this evening? Do we have any members of the public wishing to testify? Third time, do we have members of the public wishing to testify? Seeing none, do I hear a closing of the meeting?
Okay.
Seeing moved and seconded, all in favor of closing the public portion of the meeting, please say aye. Opposed? Abstained? Any abstentions? The public portion of the meeting is closed. Do I hear a motion to move that?
Second.
Hearing moved and seconded. Any discussion on the item?
I mean, I think it's been a good program. I think we should continue to support it. I think I'm interested in digging more into the vision data and thinking about how some of the different pieces of other services the city continue to connect, but I think it seems like it's all coming together and continuing to invest, and we should continue to support it.
Thank you.
I agree. And two quick reflections. For this item, we'd love to see how Yale can continue to support. It sounds like we've been a good partner in the last few years, particularly with Jack's leadership. So we'd love to continue to keep track of that conversation on how Yale plays a role in the future of other institutions. And second, just looking forward to dig into this and do more of the programmatic components.
Thank you, Congressman. I agree. I'm also in support, and yeah, I think this has been an exciting addition to our public safety response system over the last few years, and appreciate the leadership of our team at the city and Continuum and Yale as well, and folks on the ground who are working with people in our city who are dealing with very difficult moments in their lives. It's really important work, and we appreciate what you do. And I also look forward to having a workshop in the fall to hear more about, how the program's going and how we're looking at the pilot phase, what that's going to look like. But it's, ready to renew this contract, keep this program going for another year. And I will say, as Alderman Miller mentioned, and myself, it would be helpful also to look at the budget and exactly what it looks like, and we're moving from 2 levels of contract to just 1 level, from the team to the city absorbing some of those responsibilities. Because obviously our focus in the long term is to make this sustainable, as our city leaders said, and figuring out the financial part of that is key. So I would support, and my colleagues will also support. Seeing none, all in favor of moving item 1, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The item passes. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Hearing it, second, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah. Who you at, Sam?